Welcome to Dad's Fathers TV Network. I'm your host, Michael Mike. We're back with part 2 segment of child support versus visitation. Here today to help me resolve this issue for you fathers is Tracy Darby. Attorney Tracy Darby. And Tracy, you does family law,
Right.
addition to bankruptcy,
Right.
and one other thing, civil, personal injury. So if
Yeah.
someone have a wreck, or money ain't right, or family issues, you're the ideal person to call.
Yeah,
I know
of
your
course.
information pop at the bottom of the screen there, but give them your information also.
My contact number is 214-238-4340.
One more time.
214-238-4340.
And of course, throughout the show, we will pop it up at the screen. And it's very important that you guys understand having an attorney that you can reach out to, even if it's just for a consultation, help you make educated decision. I wanted us to do this show because so many guys that come into my office do not understand the difference between child support payments and the ability to see their child, and that's even factor on the age of the child. Am I correct?
That's correct.
You know, because if a child is born, is there a certain age when the father can get just a regular old visit, or tell me about that?
Well, usually, there are always what they consider tender years for any child, newborns up until they're like 3 years old. That way they're up, they're kind of walking, they're able to say a few words. So if there is a concern that maybe the custodial parent would need to know about, that child may be able to inform them of that. But when you have a child that's 0 to 3 years old, they're just pretty much laying around. They really don't know if something is wrong to state it. If they have certain medical conditions or special needs, it may be hard for one parent to take care of those needs versus the other. You always have the issues of breastfeeding. That always plays a major part. Because of course, if you're breastfeeding, your child can't go different places and be without, away from you for long periods of time. So that's why you have that tender year age. So that's generally 0 to 3 years old, where you have to basically, you're at the discretion of the mother, or you have to set as a non-custodial parent a parenting plan of when you would like to visit. And
I'm gonna stop you there. You say it's at the discretionary of the mother. In my language, that means she tell me what to do.
right, she'll let you know. You have to find out from that non-custodial parent, hey, can I visit today? Or can I visit on Mondays and Fridays? It doesn't have to be every time you want to go, you call and ask them. It could be an extended weekly plan if that's what you choose to do. It depends on the communication that custodial parent, that non-custodial parent have with each other that can determine how often they need to call and get their visitation approved. Or, like I said earlier, you can ask the court to approve a parenting schedule for you. And it could be based on, and that way now it's based on what is convenient for you. It's based on your work schedule, it's based on whatever schedule it is you have. You're asking the court to allow you to visit during these particular days and times, because that is what works and fits into your schedule. Because that may not necessarily work and fit into the mother's schedule. But it's always best to be proactive in any situation you have that's dealing with a child that does not live in the home with you. A lot of times, I see fathers or non-custodial parents, they wait until issues start. And then that's when they want to go, and now they really want to do something. When maybe, even though you and the custodial parent may not be at issue or at odds at this point, it's still always good to have a good understanding.
Right.
And what better way to have a good understanding than to have something written down, approved with the court? So in the event that problems do arise, then this is already set and established.
Right.
So I've handled it on the front end versus me handling it now on the back end. Now she's upset, he's upset, and it makes it hard to deal with the case. Even for attorneys, when the parties are at odds with each other, with a child that they have come together to have, that now they can't get along to come up with a parenting schedule for.
Right, because guys, what I really want you to take away from this, and the visitation part, for those of you who know me, that's my pet peeve. I feel we as father have to be involved in our children's lives. And for those who know my story, I sacrificed for many years because I didn't get a chance to see my child. So I definitely work very closely with attorneys like Attorney Darby here, because if you're not taking an initiative when your child is born and put something together so you have something other than nothing, then you're setting yourself up for failure. I'm gonna take a quick break. When I come back, we're really gonna get to the meat and potatoes, and I'm gonna give you some real world examples that I found successful. Not necessarily the law, but I found to be successful. You're watching Dad's Fathers TV Network. We'll be right back.
Do you find yourself worrying about those balding or thinning areas? Then you need Miracle Hair, the 60-second all-in-one hair solution for men and women. Just sprinkle Miracle Hair on the thinning or balding areas you want to cover, and you'll have the appearance of a full head of hair.
Call now and get Miracle Hair for only $29.95. Be one of the first 500 to order, and I'll send you a second Miracle Hair absolutely free.
Call the number on your screen to try Miracle Hair and reclaim your confidence. Call and order now.
Okay, welcome back to Dad's Fathers TV Network. Michael, this is Tracy, and I'm cutting through all the gibberish because this is a good part. I think this, you got the knowledge in part one about payment. Now, you're not automatically entitled to your child at birth to about age 3 because the child is small. It's not that you're not a good dad, but I mean, if the child is being breastfed or has a special diet or has, as all babies do in Texas, has allergies or special needs, I'm not saying we as father are not as good as a mom. However, take into consideration what a judge could possibly say, and don't set yourself up for failure. Be smart. However, what we're going to talk about now, you have a 6-month-old child. Let's just start at age 6 months, and you want to have regular or frequent visit with your child. I normally tell the guys, take a few minutes after work, go by, barring you and the mom can get along. Now, if she's one of those baby moms that put hands on you, then you really shouldn't go over there, come up with another schedule. But after work, I'm thinking, you get off work, go home, take a quick shower. It's still kind of early in the day. Normally the kids eat 6, 7 o'clock. Then take a couple of hours with the kid, even if it's sitting in the opposite room and the mom go do her thing. That's not too bad every other day. What do you think about that?
It's not too bad every other day. And one thing that needs to be considered is this is for the child.
Correct.
And so a lot of times it requires, like you said, eat crow, swallowing your pride, because this is for what it will be in the best interest of the child. It's not what makes you feel comfortable. It's not what makes you feel good, because when you bring another life into the world that you're responsible for, things are not about you anymore. So you have to put the selfishness and the inconsiderate way of thinking aside and think about your child. Would your child still want you to come over, even if you have to come and stay in the same house where mom is and you really can't get along with her? If the child will enjoy it, then I think it's always something that should be done. Swallow your pride for the child. So I don't see any issue with at 6 months going over every other day, staying for a couple of hours. Now, with me, I am a parent. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son.
Okay.
So to me, and when I sit down and I talk to mothers and fathers, especially when we're going through an issue of a divorce, or we're going through an issue where the parties are not married and we're going through a custody arrangement, I like to sit down with them and come up with a reasonable visitation schedule for those tender-year time periods. And of course, when you have a child that's under the age of 6 months, then I would recommend that the non-custodial parent go to the home of the custodial parent and visit, maybe weekly, maybe twice a week. Visit, go and stay for 2 hours, at least 2 hours, and just visit. And then once that child gets to like either 4 months or 6 months and beyond that, maybe then in addition to coming 2 hours, 2 days a week, then on the one weekend you may be able to come and pick the child up on a Friday or Saturday, go out for a couple of hours, bring the child back. Once you do that for about another 3 or 4 months, then we can extend it to an overnight stay. Because at the same time, you need, especially if it's your first child, you need to get acclimated to how to take care of children, because it requires a lot of patience. And most times, most males don't have as much patience with children as mothers do, because it's just that it's just that natural motherly instinct that's there. Not to say that fathers are not loving persons and they're not loving parents, but it's just a difference.
Correct.
And we have to be able to recognize the difference. Stop looking at the big issue and just look at, just be reasonable.
Right.
So I would think that would be a reasonable schedule. And once the child reaches the age of 1 to 3, then maybe, like I said, overnight, one night a week, come pick the child up on Friday, and then you return the child home, Saturday evening. That way you have overnight and you still have the day to do a lot of different activities. I know most people probably work on Fridays, so it's going to be 6 o'clock by the time they can pick the child up. So it's not a whole lot you can do in that time period. But then you have that night, and then you have that entire Saturday
Right.
where you can do other activities. And that way, you're building a relationship
Right.
with the child, because that's one of the things that the court's going to want to know. What is your relationship with your child? And that's going to play a big part, because of course the court is always going to consider the best interest of the child, and those are one of the things that's important. What involvement have you had in this child's life all of this time? So you need to be able to say something and have some consistent involvement with your child.
And guys, the main thing that I want you to take away from this is do not do child support visitation as a means to be vindictive, to be nosy to see what the mom's doing. If you sincerely is not going over to spend quality time with your child or to give the mother a break, then dude, don't do it. Just keep it real, don't do it. Don't play the games, because people like myself, who's a family mediator that does this 10, 12 years, I'll see through it, and I'm not going to be willing to help you. Attorneys like her who do it in court, so don't bring the games. Understand, child support visitation is your opportunity to develop a relationship with your newborn child through the tender age and up to a certain age when you have overnight visits.
Right.
We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about once your child reaches age 3, how does the dynamics of visitation change? We'll be right back.
Attention active duty, National Guard, Reserve, and retired veterans. If you or a loved one was injured while serving our country anytime after October 2001, you may qualify for up to $100,000 in TSGLI tax-free benefits, even if the injury was not related to military service. Also, if you've been denied VA disability benefits for a service-related issue, we may be able to help. Call the James Rolls-House Law Firm. Operators are standing by to assist you. Don't wait. Call the number on your screen now.
Okay, welcome back to Dad's Fathers TV. Welcome back to Dad's Fathers TV Network. I got all excited about this visitation stuff because I know I started the Dad's Father organization, I think it was 2008 on the books.
Okay.
But I actually started working with fathers over 20 years ago.
Okay.
And the biggest issue, bar none, that I feel contribute to a lot of the family violence
Right.
is visitation rights.
Correct.
Child support, in my opinion, is a huge spark to creating all that madness.
Right.
And most of the time, it starts with being denied. You're going to take my money first. Then you got the audacity to tell me I can't see. And a lot of guys who come to my door with that mentality, that's why I think this is so beneficial, because knowing what your visitation rights are, and then on a separate show, guys, another show, we're going to come back and break down the process and the procedure. We're going to touch on it today. The main thing I want you to understand is the age differences when it relates to visitation, or as they call it, access and possession. Right now, the visitation we're talking about is the physical possession, or to be able to touch your child. Later on, when a child is of age and they got a smartphone or a cell phone, we'll throw in the access part of it as well, electronic visitation and so forth. But right now, we talked about the birth to 3, and guys, don't be knuckleheads. If your child is under the age of 3, don't push the issue, because if the woman pushed hard enough, you had to wait. But if you're smart enough, put together a parental plan or a strategy of visitation that the court seems fair, then you can get it. Nothing is guaranteed, but at least don't put yourself in harm's way. However, if you have a child's mom that could be aggressive or potentially aggressive, then don't put yourself in a situation at all. Come see Attorney Darby. If you can't afford her, at least come talk to me with a consultation, and maybe I can do some type of mediated or arbitrated settlement with you. But don't put yourself in harm's way. Now, child's age 3 years and 1 day. Woo! I got standard visitation. Now, with standard visitation, what does the state of Texas say I am eligible for?
Okay. With standard visitation, you're eligible for the first, third, and fifth weekends of every month, beginning at 6 p.m. on Friday,
Okay.
ending at 6 p.m. on Sunday. You also have the Thursdays visitation.
Every Thursday?
It's 2 Thursdays a month. You can visit those Thursdays from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. You also alternate the holidays. So alternating holidays would be Christmas, the Thanksgiving, the Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. Usually the mother gets Mother's Day, the father gets Father's Day. But the other holidays, summer, you all get equal amount of time that the child is out of school for the summer. So you all can have summer vacations, summer visits, things of that nature, spring breaks. So those are the alternating holidays that you would have for standard visitation.
And see, what I love about that, guys, is once your child is over the age of 3, you know if everything is set up appropriately in the courtroom, on the first Friday, third Friday, and the 5th Friday of each month, you can plan a weekend to create quality time with your child, you know, versus saying, baby mama, can I?
Right.
So remove yourself from the begging stage because it creates undue stress within you. As she mentioned, you have first, third, and fifth. You also have Thursdays, or if you work Thursday, the court will give you Wednesdays.
Right.
And with that, you have 2 hours. So that's a great time. And what I used to love was my daughter and I, she played basketball, but she got out of practice at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So instead of going to the game, we would meet up at a restaurant of her choice. We'll talk about it throughout the week, and we'll show up at a restaurant 6:15, and then we'll hang out at 8 o'clock, 8:15, no later than 8:30, and I take her home. And it was great because that was away from the mother's house.
Right.
Although it may have been up the street, but you get quality one-on-one time to develop a relationship with your child. Take advantage of that, because now you can talk about school, homework, extracurricular activities they're in. That's not a time to see what the baby mama doing. That's your opportunity to get close to your child, to find out what he or she like, dislike. My daughter and I, every other Thursday was nails day.
Okay.
So I told my daughter, look, I ain't getting my nails done, but I will get my toes done. Okay, no one see that. I mean, and you come up with creative ways with your daughters, and with your son, that's a great time to learn how to, you know, hit the ball, shoot the ball, or whatever. So once you get past that tender mother stage, what I call it, birth to 3, you know, you get to a stage where you can actually start evolving into a father.
Right.
And that, in my opinion, as she mentioned earlier, weighs very heavily when you go to the courts. When the mother's denying you possession of your child, the judge want to know, well, what have you done to create a relationship with your child?
Right.
And now you can say, oh, Your Honor, and you can share your success story, because what I've learned over the years, judges are parents too.
Right.
Figure that one out, huh?
Right.
So they know when you're lying.
Right.
They know when you ain't spent a day in that child's life. So don't come here, dad's fathers, and don't come here, Attorney Derby,
Right.
about, I want you to understand the true side of visitation.
Right.
And I'm being a little, I talked more than you did this time, because, like I said, that's my pet peeve. When you come to dad's fathers, we're going to educate you about visitation. Okay, I just got signal there. I got to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about age 3 to 10, then from 10 to 13. You're watching Dad's Fathers TV Network. We'll be right back. Have you ever had a question related to child support, divorce, CPS? Call the Attorney General, or maybe an attorney, and they just gave you a runaround? Where do you go to get help? Contact Dad's Fathers of Texas. Yes, they are child support specialists. Dad's Fathers of Texas can answer your question, help file paperwork, and help find a family law attorney. Dad's Fathers of Texas, making child support simple. Okay, welcome back to Dad's Fathers TV Network. I'm your host, Michael, here with Attorney Darby. We've had some great conversation here, but as we wind things down, I think we've covered the tender age of birth, and as well as the visitation time schedules, and the importance of at least trying to be reasonable with the mother as a father, or the parents coming together and come together with a schedule that's best for them.
Right.
Correct. So now let's move up to the age 10, because now at this age the parents can get a little bit more creative when it comes to the child support schedule.
Right.
And at this age, most children, I know some are younger, actually has a telephone.
Right.
So now the access size of it comes into the conversation, correct?
Right, correct. And as far as the telephonic or the electronic means of communication, depending on the custodial parent, that may be an area where you have access whenever.
Daily.
As long as it's not, bedtime hours, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, you're, FaceTiming or calling. But to try to figure out what else is going on in the household. As long as you're being reasonable with the electronic communication, then there shouldn't be a problem with that. For you to contact daily at certain times of the day that they're looking out for you to be calling. You don't have to call all the time, but you have that window of opportunity where if your schedule permits, you can call during those times. You can FaceTime during those times, even though you may not be able to actually physically be in the presence of your child. FaceTime works wonders when you can't see the person. It kind of gives you that lift that you needed, so you kind of move on to something else. So there's that electronic visitation, and then you also can maybe have some additional visitation outside of that standard schedule that we talked about earlier, where it's the first, third, and fifth weekends, and then it's the Thursdays for 2 hours, and alternating the holidays. You may be able to get a little bit more time with your child. The older they get, they also have preferences of where they want to go as well. And as long as you keep a working relationship with the mother, you also have a viable relationship with the child. Because our relationships are not good relationships just because you have visitation.
That's true.
The child can hate to come visit with you, depending on what you all are doing when the child is there. So you got to make sure that you use these times to visit. Use them. They're important times. There are times for you to establish a relationship. There are times for you to get to know your child, not for your child to be in their room and you're in your
Playing
room.
Nintendo or Wii or whatever, right?
Or you're gone out with your friends while they're sitting at home.
Or smooching with your
watching
new
TV.
girlfriend.
Yeah, so
Right.
you use these times as times to establish a viable relationship. That way, when your child does turn 10 and above, then they'll want to spend some additional time with you. And if they express that to the other parent, unless the other parent is you all have just a terrible relationship and they're just really being vindictive, most times they'll probably say, yeah, that's okay. You can go. So keep in mind, if the child enjoys being with you and the child expresses that they want to be with you more, that weighs a lot with the other parent as well as with the court.
And what I enjoy when my daughter got her cell phone is after school, she had that 1 hour before her mom came home where she was with her grandma. That was perfect time, and I discussed it with the mom, and I was able to tutor her in her reading. So she'll open her little iTablet up and put the FaceTime on, and knowing I'm right there reading to me, her reading improved greatly. So we as dad, we unfortunately, no matter how your pride say it, sometimes we have to get creative with our visitation and our quality time. I like the access side of it because during that time is when you can do bedtime stories, you can do reading, tutoring. Or Jada and I, we watched the whole movie. She put the tablet up, turned the movie on, did not like the movie, but I was right there with her, versus traveling 42 miles across town every day. So as your child get older and have the electronic visitation, I encourage you to get more creative. You don't have to like the mom, just respect the decision the two of you have to make. Then as your child gets a little bit older, they can even talk about like a week on and a week off if the parents agree to it, right?
Right. Whatever, like I said before, whatever agreement that the parents can reach, attorneys love it, courts love it and welcome it, because then they don't have to get into a relationship or get inside you all's relationship and force you with a plan that you could come up with yourselves. Now, I've heard judges say a lot of times, at some point you all got along. Because if you didn't, we wouldn't even be here for this case. So you all got along at some point. So find a way to get back to that point where you all can still get along, especially when you have created a child together. It's not the same as when you dated and there's no ties and you go your way, the other person go their way, you had bad blood, you don't want to speak to them when you see them anymore. When you have a child, that child is looking to you as an adult, as a model for them of how to act. So when you act in a way that is not a way that is pleasing then your child ends up acting the same way. So you have to kind of be creative with that also. Like I said, you got to put your feelings aside. Think about the child. It's always in the best interest of the child. That should be the first thing that you should think about. Just like when you do things and you shouldn't, your first question should be, what would God do?
Mm-hmm.
What would God do? Would he do this? Your question should be, is this in the best interest of my child? If the answer is no, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Period.
Well, I appreciate you doing the show with us.
You're so welcome.
And like you said, her information popped up on the bottom of the screen. Of course, most of you guys know my information. If not, I got a commercial coming up right after this. And she can do the litigation side from an attorney perspective, and I can help you as a mediator to come to civil agreements or as an arbitrator to give you some ideas. So now you have no excuse to get frustrated because you have resources in front of you and you know the process and the procedures. So now, fathers, I encourage you to review this tape 2, 3, 4 times. Tell your friends about it, because visitation could be the difference between you losing more because of acting immature and catching a family violence case, and you gaining more as your child gets older. So that's very important. Well, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
And of course, I'm going to have to borrow you again and do a couple more topics that the father can learn from.
Anytime.
All right. Well, appreciate it. You're watching Dad's Father's TV Network. We'll talk to you soon.
SBA Investor Ready Business Plans, written in 21 days. McDaniel Consulting is recognized as being business plan writers since 2001. Dallas Morning News, New York Times Magazine, and Women's Day Magazine attest to these facts. Business plans, 214-349-6564. That's 214-349-6564 or www.mcbusinessplans.com.